So we're here all to talk about how brands are getting involved with NFTs, and got a stellar lineup today. So why don't you guys introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about what you've done in the past, and then we can dive into the panel. So Paweł, do you want to kick us off?
Ladies first.
Thank you. I'm Camilla. I have been working in the Web3 space for about 7 years. Helped build out the early Ethereum ecosystem at Consensus, bringing some of the core tooling like MetaMask and Infura to market. And then about 3 years ago, helped on the founding team of Serotonin, the Web3 marketing agency and product studio. And about 2 years ago, helped launch Mojito from the Serotonin product studio. And at Mojito, we are a consumer engagement platform for brands, which I'm sure we're going to get a lot more into, but have been building out the Web3 infrastructure for brands like Sotheby's and Pace Gallery in the art world, like Liverpool and Tampa Bay and Milwaukee Bucks in the sports world. Some brands like Mercedes, soon to announce with the wonderful global hotel group. Also soon to launch a platform with a global wine and spirits company. And so we sort of work across industries to build out all of the blockchain backend for these brands to play in this space for whatever goals and strategies they might accomplish, which again, my esteemed panelists can get more into because they literally do it.
GM everyone, I'm Becks Perfect. I'm the founder of Nifty World. I'm also the co-founder of the Sidechain. So Nifty World was an educational platform on YouTube. I hold the accolade of being the first female YouTuber on NFTs, which I'm really proud of. And the Sidechain is helping to onboard small businesses and solopreneurs and educate them into the Web3 and emerging tech space, which also includes AI as well. And yeah, education is kind of where I'm sat with all of this. I've had a previous background as a broadcaster for the BBC and various other channels here within the UK, but it's been a real interesting deep dive into the world of Web3 over the last 3 years to see the ebbs and flows of it and to be able to take people on that journey if they are thinking about going into it safely and making sure that they've got someone that they can trust who is not anonymous to go into the space. So it's all about authenticity, trustability as well, and making sure that the right people get into the space with the right intentions, and that most importantly, those who want to be in here stay here because they feel safe to do so.
Great. Hey everyone, Michael Litman here. I work at it's called Media Monks. I work in emerging tech strategy. That is everything from Web3 to metaverse to AI and AR, VR, etc. But the last 2-3 years, been working on Web3 projects for the likes of Gucci and Macy's and many like Adidas, Ledger, and I've really seen the coalface the last couple of years of the changes and ebbs and flows in the NFT space. My first NFT was the MeBit that you see, so that's what got me into it, probably early 2020, 2021 time, and have been through it all ever since. So what I do is I help brands get into the space and understand what's the right way of doing that. It's really very much more like a cultural lens to it. And yeah, looking forward to having this conversation with you all.
Hi everyone. Sorry for my voice, but yesterday was a tough evening. My name is Paweł Łaskarzewski. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So far, I've sold a couple of startups on Web 2, Web 3. And I was heavily involved into the gaming and financial sector. And right now, everyone thinks that there's no any intersection between those two, but there is a huge one. Right now, I'm running Nomad Fulcrum. Nomad Fulcrum is basically inflation-resistant stablecoin, which helps crypto people to deploy their capital through RWAs onto traditional market. And we do this in various different ways, including NFTs. And we are helping brands with tokenization of real-world assets, any kind of digital assets, etc., to provide bigger liquidity, to provide a different way and different types of market that they can approach with their digital. So long story short, that's me.
Awesome. So as you can see, we've got an amazing lineup here today. And so we're going to be talking about brands, so I think it's always very useful to kind of just frame and preface what does that mean, because everyone may have their own slight unique definition. So Michael, would you be able to tell us a little bit like what does a brand mean to you, and what is your sort of definition?
Yeah, I mean it's a big, great question. I'm sure everyone here, if you speak to everyone, they'll have a different answer to it. To me, a brand is really the unique traits and characteristics that are sort of a differentiating competitive advantage to one brand to the other. You know, and I think it requires a lot of time and consistency for what a brand to be known for. You know, if you think of the likes of Nike and Disney, you know what to expect. I think a lot of brands in the Web3 space, they're sort of, you know, they're doing that on fast forward, and the expectation is that brands will be able to be built overnight, and that's not the case. So yeah, that's my.
And I think if I could add, we spoke a little bit about this before, but I think for the purposes of the panel and what we're all interested in is brands in Web3. In like 2017, 18, 19, the brands that we knew that were exploring blockchain technology sounded like brands like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs for figuring out how to, here we are again, tokenize real world assets, or for them, financial instruments. If you had told me then that the brands that we would be working with in 2021, 22, 23 were some of the biggest global retail and consumer brands in the world, I would have told you were crazy. And so a lot of the brands that we're working with, coming from sort of the Web3 tech building side of the space, I've learned way more from them about how they're seeing and excited about the tech. And I think that's evolved massively over the last 2 years. That I think even we have also some Web3 native brands like the CryptoPunks and Meebits and Cool Cats that have created their own brand within this space. But I think even those brands and traditional brands first came to this space to essentially sell JPEGs. And they thought of it as a new consumer group and a way to make money and sell a digital product line, which meant many different things, you know, a brand image or a collaboration with an artist or something of the kind. And that's still happening, and that's still exciting and maybe serving a new kind of consumer that enjoys digital products. But what I'd love to get to from the brand side is now they're kind of coming back to the table after 12 to 24 months even educating themselves about what this tech can do. And they're far more excited about using NFTs not as a valuable or speculative asset, something that will have any value, but more as a way to build membership loyalty programs and using it almost as data points, as almost zero-party consumer data.
And I think just building on your point, the key for the Web3 native brands that we're seeing out there is one word: it's community. And that's what's kind of been the backbone of everything that they've been doing differently to maybe previous brands before. You feel like you're part of a community when you join a Web3 brand. We only have to look, and a lot of us will be familiar here, at the Bored Apes, right? And how evangelical the community is around that. And as Camilla has said, started as a PFP JPEG project, right? And it's built into so much more. So the way we look at brands in the Web3 space is almost in a reverse way of how we did it with brands in the Web2 space. And it's about starting with your people rather than starting with the product and nurturing them and moving that forward into, well, let's be honest, if you can dream it, you can probably make it in Web3. You just have to have the infrastructure, the foresight, the budget. Let's not talk about that, but a lot more. But there are the opportunities there where people who have come from all different walks of life joined together. The power of community has harnessed essentially a brand and has built it into something already that has been far further reaching than what we could have ever imagined in such a short space of time. A lot of these sub-brands or, you know, early brands could have been 2 or 3 years ago. So it's quite an incredible time that we're in, despite the bear market.
So I was thinking about the answer for this question, what the brand is actually, for quite a long time. And I will jump out of the box, like what the brand is. At the end, brand for me is some sort of identifier of something. Like you can think about the brand in like traditional way. It's a company. It's a group of company, which is association of the companies that share some values. But your surname might be a brand as well. Like in Japan, the surname is a very important thing. If you are a family member, you will do something wrong, your surname is ashamed. So brand is identifier of something. It might be your surname, it might be the community that have been mentioned, it might be a business, group of businesses, same people that share the same values or business goals. So for me, the brand is something like that. It doesn't have to be matched with business goals. It doesn't have to be matched with money, with some sort of, operational things. Like, it might be completely different thing that no one is thinking of. Like, the people that are meeting and thinking about starting some sort of, I don't know, a YouTube channel might be a brand, as I said, your family name. So long story short, for me, it's identifier for something that we can share some values, goals, etc. So this is brand for me.
Yeah, like it's exciting to be able to dive into that. And I think let's double tap a little bit more into just who is then starting to do it right within the space, and where do you guys see the biggest opportunity for a brand to utilize Web3?
So I think for me, there's three things why Web3 is beneficial for a brand. One is it's kind of new pathways to consumer engagement. Two, it's about loyalty. And three, I believe it's about cultural capital. So that's kind of creating that relevance in the space. So there's countless brands that we can reference. We've all, I'm sure, got tons of case studies. I've worked from Web 2 to Web 3, brands like Cool Cats. We did their Cooltopia experience in NFT NYC, if anyone was there. It was amazing, but that was totally different to, let's say, launching Gucci in the Web 3 space. So there's so many commonalities and parallels with Web 2 and Web 3. But I think the kind of key benefits that brands are seeing is, it's reaching consumers in a more direct value exchange. So we still use all the social channels. They're all great still, but we're seeing new ones pop up like Discord and Telegram that are really much more focused. Paweł mentioned the other day that Telegram has actually integrated a wallet more recently. I found that fascinating because I think it's just about lowering the complexity to entry.
Yeah. I think we've all worked with lots of brands, as we mentioned, so I'm actually not going to talk about one of my brand customers, but I think one of the best use cases out there, we talk about this a lot in our side of education, but Starbucks and Nike. And I'm sure you've heard those examples before. And to dive deeply into Nike and why it's sort of a perfect example of a company that's been building and really understands all the things that tech can do, is when they first started in this space, they too were selling digital products. They were selling NFTs. They were selling digital sneakers. They partnered with Artifact. They then acquired Artifact. And to their credit, they were really innovating in public to see who are these new buyers. Is there even a market for people that want to own digital sneakers and maybe speculate and trade them? And then some of those unlocked physical experiences, like you could order a sneaker with the digital, and they were experimenting with that. And they've really been innovating and building in public for the last 3+ years, I'd say. And the culmination of all of that learning and even acquiring a company and everything, the outcome of it is the .swoosh platform that they launched at the end of last year. And the .swoosh platform is much more focused on consumer engagement and new community experiences in a digital realm. And so the first activity as a user or consumer that you do when you log on and set up your account on the .swoosh platform is you mint a free NFT. You get a wallet set up for you in the back end. So as a brand new user that doesn't own any crypto or doesn't have a MetaMask or doesn't have an NFT and is probably put off by it for various reasons, user journey or whatever they've read in the headlines, the first thing you do is you mint a token and you have a wallet set up for you. And that .swoosh ID, Camilla.swoosh or whatever your ID is that NFT that then becomes the holder for all of the interactions you do on that channel, almost collecting those cookies, those zero-party cookies, for which things you like and want to interact with. And they're only in the first manifestation of what is a 5 to 10 year roadmap for .swoosh as the future of their connected data strategy for consumers. And they've done a partnership with Fortnite. They've done some really cool stuff. But for me, that's a perfect case study of a brand that's been doing all sorts of things in Web3. They've experimented with selling digital products as NFTs. They've now experimented and sort of are building out their main focus is using this technology as essentially a data and consumer engagement platform to meet a new generation of consumers where they like to be, which is in a digital primary realm, for all of the play, collecting, creativity, collaboration that they expect with the brand that they love.
It's interesting that you mentioned Nike, because I'm with you with Nike. I love what Adidas are doing in the space.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, like, so two competitors there, but both doing brilliant things in the space. So Adidas, if I go back to what I previously mentioned about community, the way that Adidas have really built themselves up and their community is by really engaging their NFT holders. So they had their capsule collection. It was, you were given kind of priority access if you owned certain NFTs like Bored Apes or things like that, and you got to mint those early. They made mistakes, right? They made mistakes at mint. And what I loved about it and what I thought was so refreshing was that they held their hands up at the mint and went, guys, you know what? We're still learning. I'm really sorry. We're going to fix this and we're going to come right back. And the community forgave them for that and actually embraced them a little bit more for that. And then moving on from that, you know, they've developed the storyline. They had a Bored Ape called Indigo Hertz, which was like their main character. They developed that story. And then they've engaged a whole other community of fans who maybe don't even own that NFT. And they've brought these people in because of their level of storytelling. And then beyond that, if you are an NFT holder, they have token-gated access to limited merchandise, which allows you to kind of feel like you've got something of exclusivity and might be worth its own sort of potential value in the future in real life, as well as in the digital space. So they've made that crossover really, really brilliantly done. And that's even moving on to kind of, they're continuing to collaborate with more partners, which brings more brands into the space because of the status that they've built within it. And I think it's just both of these brands, Nike and Adidas, have taken kind of different directions, but they're actually testing, learning, growing, making mistakes, understanding what the community needs, and they're still doing, and they're massive brands, and that's the thing.
Pivoting in public.
Pivoting in public, and I think that transparency for a lot of us gives us even more faith in what they're doing, and I think it's great to see. We don't need to be behind this smoke and mirrors of these big brands, you know, and things are going on behind the scenes. We love that transparency because we all know how early this space is, and it's okay to experiment and grow in it, even no matter what size business you are.
And just to add quickly for both of those examples, two of the biggest consumer brands in the world, right? Adidas and Nike. And they now have a couple dozen people on each team now building behind this. And so if those brands see this as sort of unanimously the future of consumer engagement online, then I think we're all doing something right, I hope. Yeah.
So I will tackle this question from a little bit different angle. So I was speaking with a lot of brands. I was working with a lot of brands about Web3 strategy, this and that. And the main thing that they are struggling with is adoption. Like right now we have 400 million users in crypto. Like compared to the whole human base on the planet, it's like a small number. Like we are cutting out of the equation all the people that don't know what the gas fee is. Like for instance, my mother asked me, Paweł, why the gas fee is so high? Because Putin is not selling gas to Europe? And that popped in my mind that we need this educational part like very heavily. I said, Mom, this is like just transaction fee. Yeah, they should name it like that. But nevertheless,
I'm impressed your mother is even transacting on chain.
Yeah, I'm trying to educate. But the issue is that those people, that there are a lot of obstacles to step in. But there are ways to onboard people. And like we needed like almost 15 years to onboard 400 million people into Web3. Telegram did 800 million within one click. They introduced to the Telegram a wallet. And this wallet, what does it take to have a wallet? You don't need to remember private keys, anything like that. You need to have phone number on Telegram. That's it. So everyone gets it. And they onboarded 800 million people onto the crypto with introducing one feature. So there are interesting ways to provide and remove those obstacles for the user. So that's the first thing. But why Web3 should be important element of the strategy? Because this creates a completely new ways of building marketing and expansion for your brand. Something that was not physically possible before. And I will give you an example. We spoke with Mike Tyson and Sterling McPherson a long time ago. Mike Tyson, everyone knows. And Sterling McPherson is Hall of Fame of US Box. And they wanted to create a new gala in Africa with African boxers. And they wanted to go all in Web3. And the idea for that was to have a tickets in form of NFT. And if you have 3 tickets from 3 different galas, on the 4th gala, you can merge them into a lottery ticket. And this lottery ticket will allow you to have a chance to be selected. And then You can join the whole gala as a VIP to meet Mike Tyson, spend them with a day or 2 or 3, be in the VIP section, meet all those boxers, go to the party with them, etc., etc., which brings the value for used tickets on the secondary market, which is additional revenue stream for them, which reduce the supply because you need to merge free and you have a lottery ticket that you need to use, and which produce something that was not possible before. Because how you could merge free paper tickets or the PDF that you can copy-paste. This was physically before not possible. And also you had 20 different organizations selling those tickets. So merge and integrate everyone with everyone. So for me, this is super important because this allows you for things that was not possible before. I'm running a Burger King, for example. So I can see if there are any people in the area, if there is some kind of geolocation or something that have McDonald's NFTs, and I can send them NFT with a discount code. And I know that they eat in a fast food. So those are things that were not possible ever before, and right now, blockchain makes it possible.
Yeah, and those tactics, if you will, that a blockchain allows, those capabilities to reach an audience, which I would love to get more into. I'm sure the panelists would as well, as what those are and some examples are. But the whole thing of like, okay, if you step back, like, why should brands even care, and why should consumers even care? For me, again, like if you take even just the last 3 years, because we're really just talking about the last 3 years of brands in this space, 2, if that. It's interesting to see how it's changed. So initially, like, why should brands care? Why were brands minting NFTs? Why did everyone from Taco Bell to Pringles to Adidas to Nike to Starbucks start launching things in this ecosystem? I think initially what they anchored to was what they saw in digital art. And it was, again, selling a digital thing. So their KPIs for success in brands entering this space was how much revenue did they make, and did the project mint out? And they were targeting the Web3 native audience, mostly with their launches. The same, in earnest, like 50 to 100,000 active wallets. That's who they were targeting, this new consumer group. Who are they? I think now of why should brands care, to everything Paweł just explained of, you know, token gating, experiences, secondary markets on tickets, what we've seen is their key performance indicators for the strategies they're building in Web3, using NFTs, using blockchain technology, are now things like new customer acquisition to get more, to bring in more sort of digitally exciting and engaging gamified experiences using this tech. Lowering the CAC, lowering the cost of new customer acquisition by being able to hyper-target different audiences like this, which is what the blockchain allows. And then number 3, the holy grail for brands is increased total lifetime value of consumers. And so increased loyalty, increased stickiness, increased return customers by offering things like hyper-customized experiences based on on-chain data, or token-gated targeting to allow in-kind benefits to a consumer, to a member of that brand community that wasn't previously possible. And so it's things like this that all brands are getting super excited about for the long term now. But it's interesting for me because for every of these conversations, it's like these things are so cool, but why are brands investing, hundreds and thousands, if not millions, into these strategies? It's because they see that as the long-term benefit for them as a brand to survive the new consumer of Gen Z and Gen Alpha and what they kind of care about and what they appreciate, which is intimacy, digital experiences, and sort of gamified experiences.
But this also provides not only new marketing strategies, but a completely new business models and expansion of that. And I will give you an example of something you can find here in London, in every pub. So there is a company, there is a brand which is producing a rum and alcohol. They produced this for 120 years. They named Dictador. They are selling investment alcohol, like 100-year-old bottle, 80-year-old barrel, which is super fragile. You need to know how to store it. So they sell this investment alcohol in form of NFTs. Why? Because when I buy it, and I'm counting for 20-15% a year of growth on the value of that 100-year-old bottle, do I know how to store it properly? Most probably not.
This and are you even fragile. Buying it to drink it?
Yeah, you are not buying. This is investment by name, so you buy it to invest capital. And why I want to sell it after 5 years. So what proof I have while selling to a new person that I was storing this properly? None. But this company is doing this for 120 years. So as a trusted third party, they are selling NFTs, which is certificate of ownership. I can burn this NFT anytime I want and claim this physical good. And I have a proof that it was stored properly. And this is simplification of the secondary market of those luxury goods. One thing. But the second problem, try to sell barrel of alcohol in Dubai, where it's haram. It's forbidden. 11 years in prison. There are 2 companies in Dubai, which are sheikh companies that have license to trade alcohol. But I can sell NFT. I can sell certificate of ownership. That's possible. So I'm simplifying much more secondary markets and remove the barriers for making transactions on the market. So this is super interesting, how they use blockchain to leverage their position and sales on the market.
But you mentioned barriers just there. The biggest barrier for any brand stepping into this space is education, right? And not being able to educate properly and simplify the processes for their consumers and future consumers, right? We've got to remember, bringing it right back, everyone in this room has an interest, a potential first step into the space, and a general understanding. Like, you probably all know what a digital wallet is, you all know a little bit about crypto, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many people that don't even have that knowledge, that but they know the brands, right? So how do we then put those pieces together? There are so many educational points that brands need to kind of take a step back from, and actually all of us do as well, because I'm sure we are in this space so much, and we take for granted how much we know, and then actually thinking we need to go right back to the 101s for our future customers and clients and consumers in order to get them on board. Because Web3, and the way we need to think about this, and the way brands need to think about this, is Web3 is not necessarily right now something completely different. It's an additive element to Web 2. We're kind of in this Web 2.5 space. And before we can do anything, before we can activate anything, we need to make sure that people get it. Like the idea, as you mentioned, Paweł, with seed phrases, private keys, all this kind of stuff. It is terrifying. I still find it's terrifying, like transferring an NFT from one wallet to another, or some crypto. I always think I'm going to get scammed, even though I do every single bit of precaution. Imagine only having a hot wallet and not a cold wallet, and and putting yourself at risk, but not knowing that you shouldn't click on a DM. It's all these things that people need to be educated on before they can step into the space. And it's a brand's responsibility, and actually future tech's responsibility, to try and simplify all of this, so that actually I know we said this on our call, like some of these keywords we'll have to take a shot every time we say it, because we're going to say it so often, but mass adoption, in order for something like that to happen, it needs to be that NFTs, all these kind of jargon that we have, becomes second nature to people, like everything in the Web 2 space is at the moment, and it just becomes super simple, because without that, we're just not going to achieve mass adoption. That's 2 shots for me.
To add to the education that you just mentioned, there is one important thing that we should all be aware. Like the adoption was growing up, and right now it's slowed down. Like, it's not going up anymore. Why? Because most of the tech-savvy enough people are in the space already. They are here. The rest is not tech-savvy enough to step in. They are too afraid, and education is a very important part. But I believe that the real mass adoption will happen, and we're gonna see that, where we will not talk about wallets, we will not talk about NFTs, we will not talk about tokens. We will speak about some asset that I have on my wallet. Who in this room have Visa card? I will give you an example. Hands up. Okay, cool. So all of you are using blockchain, and everyone who have a Visa card since 2021, because Visa changed settlement system under the card for USDC on Ethereum and Solana. So that's an interesting part. You don't know that you are using, but they implemented that one. So this kind of thing, and Apple is working to change their wallet on the phone. You have already plain passes, different, Eventbrite passes, Luma passes, all the things which are digital assets. Why NFTs, gaming, for any other NFTs or your crypto assets can be on that wallet? They are working on that. And you can have very simple authentication with your Face ID that is in there, with security element in there, so you don't need to remember your private key. So there are ways, but we need to wait some time for that, and that would be the real mass adoption, when no one is thinking and speaking anymore about the blockchain. They just speak that they use some things and they have assets. That's it.
But I think there's like really unsurmountable challenges right now that the big brands, MasterCard, they're getting into it in a big way. If we think of let's say 3 things, the challenges are complexity, user experience, and crypto. These are the 3 kind of mountains that we're all trying to overcome. The complexity is knowing how to even get into crypto and have a wallet and your seed phrase. It's just so much. And if we see the likes of, say, MoonPay and CrossMint, they're Mojito as well. They're allowing credit card payments. So you can, to a point, decouple from crypto. And I think that does help with the sort of instability and volatility that brands don't want to have that kind of level of risk. Then if we think of user experience, the process, the journey of getting onto buying an NFT is rough. If we think of wallets like Rainbow, really simple, beautiful user experience, so much better than, for example, MetaMask. And MetaMask has got hundreds of millions more users. And then if you think crypto as well, decoupling from that, we're seeing a ton of brands, projects, companies investing in easier ways of payments. And I think that is going to be where we're going to see an exponential increase of users where you don't need crypto. And that's actually, I think, going to be a big game-changing moment.
And to Paweł's point, just to add, we actually have with one of the biggest global publicly listed wines and spirits company, a marketplace for high-end whiskeys to do just that, launching in a few weeks. And they are not mentioning NFTs once in the launch and in the website, in the marketing. I mean, it's down there in the terms and conditions if you really want to look. But to your point, it's just about the experience that unlocks for that whiskey collector to be able to collect, not have to ship and buy if they only want to sell it later for more. And I think to the tech point, around 2021, when the NFT market started to kick up and it was now in global headlines and everyone was talking about it, myself and a couple others that had been in the industry for a while were euphoric and excited and validated that this had reached the mainstream, but also a little bit scared that people had arrived to a party that hadn't been set up yet. And so the metaphor being, it was almost like all of these consumers and all of these brands even like found out about a house party in Shoreditch and were like, everyone's going there, it's super cool. The party had not been set up yet. No one had a safe ride home. Their shit got stolen. There was no bartender. It was really hard to find the house. It was like rushing into this new tech that was not ready for primetime mass adoption. Like the account abstraction, which has really just been around in the last couple months, that is one of the core pieces to unlocking consumer data on chain. Being able to set up a new wallet as a new user does not pass the grandma test right now. It's really hard to custody a digital thing today and to have a digital wallet. Like, it's tough. And we're still figuring all that out. And so I'm hoping now in the bear market, where a lot of people say, the bear market is for builders, it is really nice that some of the speculative euphoria has gone away, that distracting thing of like how much money some of these tokens were going for has left the zeitgeist and left the headlines for these brands to revisit without that FOMO feeling what this tech can actually be and unlock. And so if it takes another year, another 2 years, it may take a while for these tooling and this user journey to become mass adoption user friendly. But when it does and that party becomes hot again, everyone will know where it is. You'll have a bartender, there'll be music playing, none of your stuff will get stolen. You'll know how to access this new tech in a way, and it'll be about the experiences it unlocks to that point. It won't be for the sake of digital ownership for the sake of it. It'll be what you can do with something with your data when you custody it, what you can do with the token if you custody it, what you can do with the digital art piece now that you possess it. It'll be about what those experiences unlock, net new business models, net new user things.
You can think about the current market where we are in crypto that the structure is very similar to what was happening in early 2000 during the dot-com bubble burst. So a lot of startups were raising on insane valuation. They were just adding .com to the name, and they were able to convince everyone that they will disrupt the market. Like, most of them failed. But after the dot-com bubble burst, the whole new economy has been built. Just to mention, digital marketing. This was something that was never before on the market. Social media, so e-commerce, those are the just free areas of this internet industry that employs hundreds of millions of people worldwide and generates trillions of dollars in revenue. And we are in the same place right now, but it doesn't, what was required for this industry to grow? Tools that were simplifying the market. Like, e-commerce would never exist without one simple tool, online payments. Right now, I have a shop 3 floors down, and I'm ordering through an app, and 15 minutes later, they are bringing me the grocery store shops. Yeah. So, and I'm able to pay with a card with 10 different payment methods. So this is the thing that is needed in crypto as well. So tools to expand, to bring more people, and the whole new economy is going to be built on top of that.
Yeah. Well, it's been super exciting. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned from here. Now, as we kind of wrap up, I would love to just go through the panel, and I would love to get your guys' thoughts on just one brand that you are most excited about that is doing something in the space, and then that one real-world use case that they're utilizing. I can see, Camilla, you're thinking. Did you want to go first and kick us off, or do you want to go the last? So, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. One that I'm most interested in and think it's a bit more of an abstract case is Lufthansa. They're in the loyalty space. They've taken their whole loyalty program on chain using Polygon. And they're essentially incentivizing and rewarding repeat purchase. And that's going on flights. So I feel like that is going to be where NFTs are going to go increasingly more for brands, less about the value of the asset and more about the access and the program that it takes you into. So that's something that I'm particularly bullish on myself.
I think anything in the fashion and luxury space at the moment has been really innovative, and I think they're pushing boundaries. So you can look at a quick win like Tiffany & Co., who really linked up with the NFT community, with the CryptoPunks community. They made an absolute steal with selling their own digital versions of those CryptoPunks for those holders and selling out and making loads of money. But what are they going to do next? I'm excited about that. But actually what it does is that's just one example of so many incredible fashion and luxury brands like Gucci, actually, who just do incredible stuff in this space and will continue to push the boundaries. So that is an industry rather than a brand that I think that you guys should just keep an eye on at the moment. It's exciting.
We've worked with a couple sports teams at Mojito. Like I mentioned, Liverpool, the Tampa Bay Rays did a really awesome project for their season ticket holders. But one of the brands I'm most excited about that Pep Barisha here in the audience also works with is ATP Tennis. They've already done some things in the space around the Australian Open. The Love Project, which I highly recommend to check out. It's really intelligent in the way that they sort of partnered with an artist to mint different images of where the ball hit the court. But they see that 5, 10, 20-year vision of a connected data strategy for how to communicate and engage fans in a new way that's not based on speculation, that's just based on fan understanding and fan engagement. Can't say much more about it. They're still in the early stages of it, but the people at that team are thinking about it in a really, really informed and intelligent way and are speaking to some of the best minds in the space about how to build that in a long-term way. And I'm just super excited for a use case like that in sports to come to market. Because so many of the brands in our space are led by example and led by case study, and some of which we've mentioned. But all these tools that we've talked about, things like token gating, wallets, NFTs is the new zero-party data, cookies, all of those things are invisible tools that power real experiences. And so it's those case studies of brands coming to market and to look at the data and the numbers of how did it go and what did they do and what did they learn and what did it unlock for consumers that I'm super excited about. So I'm very excited about ATP Tennis in a few weeks or months for sports.
So I'm hyped the most about Apple. I have heard some rumors that Apple is working to change the phone wallet into the crypto one. Samsung already did it a couple of years ago. Every new Samsung Galaxy S something have pre-installed wallet in it. But Apple is master in user experience. So they are never first. They are very often last, but they do the best thing. Like we seen the VR industry growing. They were the last one that introduced. But what they introduced with Vision Pro like a couple of months ago is amazing. This is a game changer. So I'm super excited and interested how they will approach the Web3 space with user experience, which is very poor. Like MetaMask looks like probably from 90s. I don't know if you remember those 90s applications, they were crap. This is what I'm hyped the most, because if they will use the whole knowledge of Apple about the user experience, the data that they have, how users are engaging with different things, and they will put it into Web3, I believe that might be a game changer for the whole industry for the next couple of decades.
And that would be exciting, the little Apple Pay. There you go, done here and done. No onboarding, everyone's already set to go. Well, thank you guys for being able to join us. Can we get a round of applause for our amazing panelists? Thank you all guys for listening, and enjoy the next ones.
Thank you very much.